Rue here. Today I'm going to talk to you about your dialectical reading journals. You will find a link at the bottom of this page for a Word document template that you will use for your journals. Your dialectical reading journals are very important because they will be the bulk of your homework this semester. Most of the readings that you will do will require accompanying reading journals. Okay? A dialectical reading journal is not just your typical reading journal. It is a reading journal in which you engage with the text dialectically. That means when you think about a text beyond the text, just the text itself, and also you metacognitively think about the text. How do you, as an audience or as a reader, feel about this text? What does it make you think? What kind of connections do you make? Okay, so on the left-hand side over here, you can see the instructions. Okay. Dialectical reading journals can help you think inquisitively and critically about what you read. They help you interact with new information in different ways. They allow you to relate information from prior knowledge and make connections with this new knowledge that you're taking in by reading a new text. They allow you to think metacognitively about your reading, writing, and thinking processes. And they allow you to generate ideas for class discussions and writing assignments. Alright? So by the time that you get to writing an essay, it's not, you no longer have a blank page or a blank screen. You will have a number of dialectical journals from which you can draw inspiration or generate ideas for your essays. Alright. Now, the directions here are on the left-hand side. And if you see under column 3 is going to be the bulk of your dialectical journal, the reading journal. I want you to fill this entire thing out. Now, these columns here expand as you type. All right. So as you type into it, you can include more than one page. I expect one full page per dialectical journal with 5 entries. Okay. Let me explain what that is. Column 3 here is going to be where you include your reflection on what's interesting or confusing. If you have any comments or connections to make, you can include any kind of analysis, any kind of anything goes. Okay, and here, if you look at the column 3 suggestions here, these are suggestions of some things that you can consider while you're reading. Think about them as categories. You can analyze a segment of the text. You can if you're reading fiction, you can make an observation of plot, or an observation of character, or you can even talk about the language, the logic, the diction, the syntax. Okay, and you'll notice this free space here, this blank space over here. This is where you write your own categories, because everybody has a different reading process. So you, as a reader, as an audience, need to come up with your own reading process. When you're reading a text, what are the things that you look at that you're interested in, that you're looking for? So here you can write more categories for yourself. All right. So now that I explained column 3, what I want you to do is I want you to take the text and engage with, let's say, 5 quotes or 5 elements from the text that you're reading. Okay. And I want you to include at least one from the beginning of the text, at least one from the middle of the text, and at least one from the end of the text, just to show me that you've actually done the whole reading. All right. So this also serves as evidence that you've done the entire reading. Okay. So try not to, if a text is 10 pages long, try not to make your entries for the first 3 pages only. Try to make your entries in non-consecutive pages. Okay. Column 1 here. You just put the quote or the element that you are engaging with. Column 2, page number. Don't forget the page number. This is going to be your observation, your analysis, your reflection, your comparison, your connection, whatever it is. Okay, in specific terms. All right, and feel free to ramble. I mean, journals are fine for that because you are engaging with the text and interacting with it. Okay, and then The metacognitive column is, I want you to use this space to jot down ideas that go beyond the text and how you reflect about your own reading process, whether you were having issues or trouble with this particular reading session, or whether the text hurt your feelings and it took you to a memory and that kind of thing. You can talk about that. You can talk about issues beyond the text. And it could also be about your physical reading process, right? Dogs were barking and the baby was crying and I couldn't get any concentration done. And okay. And then another one is I was at the park and I was sitting on a bench and the breeze was flowing and I had a great session. Well, that's going to tell you something about your reading process. You're probably going to be a more effective reader if you're sitting on a park bench with a breeze, as opposed to in a cramped apartment with babies crying and dogs barking, right? So that's the purpose of this column. For each metacognitive reading journal, I want you to do at least 2 of these columns. And they do not have to relate to the information that you have here in these columns over here. Okay, this is a free fall for all. What a lot of students do is that they like to do all 3. They like to follow all 3 main columns. The quote with an analysis and then a metacognitive observation. You're welcome to do that. I have included a couple of samples of dialectical reading journals for you to get a feel for this. Okay, and again, these are column 3. These are suggestions. They're not. You don't have to talk about these things all the time or at all. All right. Now, at the end of your metacognitive reading journal, make sure to include a meaningful question for discussion. That's how we're going to base our discussions are going to be greatly based on the questions that you generate. Okay, because I'm interested in your ideas and what interests you, what confuses you, so you can make an interesting question. Think about questions or observations for discussion that open up a talk, that engage in more conversation. Not like, I wonder what she was wearing the day she wrote that short story. That's not going to be a very good question, because it's try to avoid factual things or trivial things. Try to get more into engaging in conversation. I disagree with the author because of this, and then you can ask a question. And that way you can engage the class or the group or your small group in a discussion. Okay? So that is the Dialectical Reading Journal. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or write it down on the Q&A section for this module. All right. Bye-bye.